You're listening to As You Go, a production of Free Will Baptist Women's Ministries. At Free Will Baptist Women's Ministries, we're all about helping women fulfill our role in the Great Commission. Jesus said, as you're going, make disciples. So in our podcast, we want to focus on being a disciple, growing in discipleship and in obedience, and then making disciples. Hi, I'm Ruth McDonald. I'm the director of Free Will Baptist Women's Ministries and the host of your podcast today. Today we have with us Kristi Johnson. Kristi's been my friend for a good number of years, and she's going to talk to us today about the power of our words.
Yes, we're going to talk about words, and I, as a woman, say a lot of them. A lot of them throughout my life, I've said. Probably too many.
We women like to talk, yes. Usually.
That's why we're such good friends.
Yeah, we just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yes.
But we're going to try to keep a lid on it today, just a little bit.
I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not sure if we'll do that.
Yeah, well, whatever. It'll be what it'll be.
That's right.
Just girlfriends getting together, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
So I've been asking all my guests, Kristi, and as a kind of a get-to-know-you question, when you were a little girl or a young girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, well, the first thing I wanted to be when I was a little girl was I wanted to be the cashier at a grocery store or at a Walmart. I just thought it would be so much fun to handle all the money and talk to all the people. But then when I was a little bit...
Talking to all the customers, yeah.
Then when I got a little bit older, I really wanted to be a journalist. I thought it would be fun to write. And one year for Christmas, I actually asked my parents for a thesaurus.
A thesaurus.
It was a little, I know, crazy gift, I know.
So how appropriate is it that you're here today talking to us about words? And this little girl, how old were you, Kristi?
I was probably 13, 12
and you
or 13.
Asked for a thesaurus for Christmas.
And then I had the privilege to use that thesaurus. When I was in high school, I got to write for our local newspaper. It was a really tiny, small town newspaper. But I got to write for the newspaper, and they even paid me so much a line, 8 cents or something.
So we can say you're like a published journalist.
Absolutely, I am. If you count the 8 cents a line.
Yeah, you made a fortune on that one, I'm sure.
I did. I think it was like $2.12 a week or something. I don't remember, but...
Well, you were writing for pay, so that makes you a writer. That's awesome.
Yeah, and now I have the privilege of getting to continue doing that. So for the last 25 years or so, we've been in Spain. And some of you may have been on our update list. We wrote this update called Good News from Spain. And so every Sunday, I was able to write my words. I probably used a thesaurus, probably an online one. I don't have the little green one with me anymore. But I got to keep writing. And now I work at IM, and I get to keep writing about other missionaries and telling their stories. So I really just have a dream job right now. I love it. It just fits me.
Well, that's awesome. Kristi is kind of the poster child for IM in that she was probably the best missionary we had at sending out regular news updates.
Well,
so the rest of us got told pretty often, see, Kristi, be like Kristi.
No, but it was a great way to really connect with our supporters. And
yeah, well, you did a great job.
I loved it.
So, Kristi, you and I both share that. Well, we have a lot in common, but you spent how many years in Spain?
25.
We spent 36 years in Japan. So when we're talking about words, you gotta go there with the bloopers. The words, as you're trying to learn another language, words can get you in all kinds of interesting situations.
Yeah, going to language school helps you realize how much you don't know. What you thought you knew, but you really don't. When I was in language school, one of our teachers invited us over to her home for like a Christmas get-together. And I decided to write her a little thank you note in Spanish, in her language. And I signed it. In English, it said, instead of a hug, which is how they would have said un abrazo, I signed it an arm. I just gave her an arm, abrazo. And she just laughed out loud that I had done it wrong. But I was still proud of myself. I had gotten almost there with my language.
Was it close enough that she knew what you were trying to say?
She did. That's why she laughed, like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
But
well,
anyway.
We enjoy our foreign friends who are trying to learn English, and they make cute mistakes, right?
Do you have some too?
Oh,
you have...
hun, I've got a lot of them, but let's see. I didn't really prepare one to tell today.
I mean, in 30-something years, you have to have stories.
Well, I remember when I was first there, my friend Debbie and I were singing, and it was a candlelight service. And so the Japanese are so gracious. No matter what you do, they're going to compliment you. As far as it's not always real sincere, but if you try to say anything in Japanese, they're going to say, "Oh, you're so good." And
oh, nice.
Somebody said, "You're so good at singing in Japanese, which I'm sure we weren't at that point. And I said, "Oh, thank you. It was really difficult to sing by refrigerator light." Instead of candlelight. So that was a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, I was singing by refrigerator light.
There you go.
It must be difficult to sing by refrigerator light, but I've actually never tried it.
I haven't tried it, but I have opened the fridge at night for snacks. So.
No kidding. Anyway, apparently there are a lot of things. I went into McDonald's and ordered an airplane. So yeah.
A McPlane?
Yeah, no, I just ordered all kinds of things. Too many to count. So so sometimes our words when we're learning another language can be very interesting and make for good, stories at parties.
Yeah, later on. In the moment, it doesn't feel so great.
But sometimes our words get us into a little bit more significant trouble when they have a negative impact on others.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us what you've been thinking about that?
Yeah. So when I was a little girl, I remember being with someone who compared me to another person. And this other person to me was one of my idols, if you want to say. She was cute and she always wore the right clothes and she was skinny and I was just a little bit chubby. And the person said to me, well, why can't you be like that person? Why do you have to be chubby? I think the person actually said, why are you so fat? Well, for a little girl to hear, why are you so fat? Those words have stuck with me. And that was, 40 years ago, but they're still in my head. I still remember where I was standing when the person said it. I remember what we were wearing. And that's really hard for a little girl to hear, why are you so fat? Thankfully, since then, I found my identity in the words of Christ and not in the words of this person that they spoke to me. But it's so important, the words we say to that word that was said to me or the words we say to our children. My children are grown now. They're grown. They're in college now. But when I think back to things I said and the way I said them, sometimes I think, I wish I had another childhood to do it all over again and say the things that I wish I could have said. When my daughter was really little, I would be working on the computer and she would say, looky, 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 all the time. Look at me, Mom. Look at me, Mom. And now if I could just hear my little girl say, looky, looky, looky. It was just sweet as it could be, but she just wanted attention. And that's where the words.
Yeah, and it was probably constant. So you couldn't actually give her as much attention as she desired. But you know how it is when you look back. We look back with nostalgia of the things we wish we had said. Yeah. So I guess we get a chance to do that as grandparents, right? I'm not there yet. But mine are a long way away, but yes, typically people get a chance to do that with their grandparents.
It's like the Lord gives us this second chance to make up for the things maybe we wished we had done. Not that I feel like we had a terrible childhood. Our children had
you did a great job with your children.
But, we always look back and think about the words that were said. I think about words that were said to me. Another story, but this is a positive story. When I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher, Ms. Mackey, loved her. She wore the glasses with the chain on them. I remember Mrs. Mackey. And one day she said, "Would you like to go read to the third graders?" And it was a book that I didn't know how to read. I'd memorized it. I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
But she made me feel so important.
So smart.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Afterwards, I felt so smart because I got to go read to the third graders. Yeah. That was a big deal. Yeah, and all she did was say, "Would you like to read to the third graders?" And it's again,
and you still remember.
Yeah.
So we still remember the bad, and we still remember the good, which is
the Bible says they're like a honeycomb. The words are sweet, like a honeycomb, and so those are the ones that I'm going to choose to remember.
Yeah, and they're also can be destructive. So
yes,
yep. My daughter said the other day, "Mom, you lied to me when I was 5 years old." And I said, "What? I did not lie to you." She said, "Yes, you did. You told me that I was really good at wrapping presents." Oh. She said, "I know that now that I am not good at wrapping presents. I stink at wrapping presents." I said, "Amy, you were really good for a 5-year-old."
Exactly.
But somehow she was like, "I'm good at wrapping presents," was what stuck in her mind. Oh. So I was like, "Well, I'm not going to apologize for saying something positive to you." So sometimes as a mother, you just never know what's going to backfire and why. But
I know affirmation, what you were giving her, affirmation is so important. And in some cultures, maybe in the ones we've been in, it's not as important and as useful and used as it is here in America.
Right. Is it not in Spain?
No, I would not say they're a culture of affirmation,
no,
but
Japan
we've done
either.
A conference there, Leadership Matters course, and one of the things we teach is affirmation through that, and we actually have to practice it. It's hard because it feels like something they haven't done before. But we've had one person who in the beginning, when we first went to Spain, would always just tell us kind of negative, negative, negative. But after going through the course, I've actually received letters written out from this person.
That's amazing.
Affirmation, like the person learned from the way we were teaching with Leadership Matters course. And so it is a skill that can be taught, and it can be uncomfortable, but we got to learn it. We all need to practice it in some ways.
So the power of our words, there is power. And the Bible talks a good bit about that. Have you prepared some verses or anything for us today about that?
I was thinking about the honeycomb. I was also thinking about the passage that talks about listening, not just being quick, being slow to speak, and quick to listen and slow to speak.
Right.
That's a whole nother part, so that we're not speaking out of turn. The listening is the whole other side of it. So.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an ouchy one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's hard to do as much listening as it is to do the speaking.
Yeah, and especially for women. What is it? How many words do they say that we usually use in a day?
I think we're at like 16,000 a day or something. That's a lot of words.
That is a lot of words.
So if you multiply that
and men
by hours and days and months, I think I'm at several million words now in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And sometimes when your kids are little, you feel like they use several million all in one day, don't you?
I think so. I think I did. Looky, all those days.
Looky, mommy.
Had the little one, look. So, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So, do you ever get to the end of the day and you're just like, I have used all my words?
I do sometimes.
Does your husband? Does he use up his words?
I don't think he ever gets to his limit on words.
Yeah.
He's kind of a morning person.
Okay.
So he's like 6 o'clock in the morning, let's talk. And I'm kind of like an 11 o'clock at night, let's talk. So that kind of meshes about 5 in the afternoon, which is great for dinner. So we're both kind of still good for dinner. And then after that, our timetables aren't the same. How about you guys?
We are both we both take it in spurts. I'd say we're both talkative, but we tend to be talkative at opposite times.
Right.
And occasionally one or the other of us just has to say, I'm done. I've used all my words for today.
Yeah.
And then we know we just don't engage in conversation at that point.
Another gift that the Lord has given me is that I actually work an hour from our house. So I have an hour in the car in the morning and an hour in the evening. And
then you're ready to talk again.
And then it's like, that's my settle down time, think, process things. Then I'm ready again for dinner to talk.
So Kristi, as Christian women, how can we use our words in the way that honors God and builds up others?
Remembering that principle that we do need to think before we speak. And then also just being encouragers, affirmation, looking for the positive in people, because if we're looking for the negative, we're going to find it.
Oh, absolutely.
But if we're looking for ways to affirm, even if we have to kind of force ourselves to do it, we're going to find the good things. I was thinking about a card that I received recently in the mail, and it had my name printed on it. You know, if you get a card in the mail with your name that somebody hand wrote, that's pretty amazing. Because
I saw a subscription service the other day where people are signing up to get a monthly handwritten letter.
Oh.
I'm like, that's interesting.
Well, we're teaching our missionaries right now when they come through training that writing handwritten notes and thank you cards, 99% of envelopes with your name written on it and handwriting will be opened. So it's really
almost all of them.
That's almost all of them. I mean, who's not going to open something with your name written on it? We have informed delivery. Do you know what that is? It's a service that the post office takes a picture of what's going to come to my house every day.
Oh, okay.
And last week, there was a letter coming to my house with my name handwritten. I couldn't wait to get home and open that.
Really?
I mean,
that's funny.
It wasn't bills or car guarantees or any of that stuff. It was my name written on an envelope.
Well, it used to be many years ago that that's the way we wrote. We wrote cards and letters. Of course, we didn't have text and
email,
all the other things. Yeah. But I was thinking about it not long ago. How many people do you know that you're familiar with their handwriting? Like when you see their handwriting, you know it's that person.
Well, the card that I got last week, I knew the handwriting.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the picture, it was an aunt of mine.
Right.
I knew her handwriting and I was excited.
But there's fewer and fewer. There are fewer and fewer people now that you actually know their handwriting. And when you do find a handwriting in one of your loved ones' hand, you're like, oh, I don't know. There's an emotion to that.
Yes.
And so what you were going to tell us about a card.
Yeah. So I received a card recently with my name handwritten on the front, and I opened it because, that just doesn't happen too often. And the words inside were like a honeycomb to my soul. They were encouragement. They were, thank you for doing this. I appreciate this about you. Something that we had done together. And it was just beautiful. And what I did was I just dropped it down in my work bag that I take back and forth with me every day. But every time I would look down in that bag, I would see that envelope with my name on it, that somebody had taken the time to give me, had some powerful words for me. And so I just think about that, and I think about other people out there in the world right now. How many people need to see my handwriting on a card? How many people need to carry my note around in their bag, or have a text from me or a voicemail? Just words, we can use them in lots of ways. They don't have to be handwritten. But, you know, I have, do you remember those frames a long time ago that this was probably technology like we have now, but you could record a message into a book or a frame.
Yeah, your
voice. So my children recorded those, and we mailed them across to my parents, and they kept them in their house. And
I bet they're precious to listen to now.
Yeah, well, the batteries are probably all dead or whatever. But for years, we would say, "Hey, Pa, it's Alejandro." And my mom and dad, they would listen to it all the time because they wanted to hear the words of their grandchildren. And it was powerful. It was, really special to my parents. So
that's precious. That is really precious. And the Bible says so much about words, and Jesus being the Word, the express image of God. And that's, there's so much depth in that word in the Bible.
Yes.
But let's focus on using our words for good in the lives of those around us. I think a lot of us never really aspired to be a journalist, and there are a lot of our listeners that don't consider themselves writers. So what advice would you have for them? Maybe they think, I can't write, a flowery, a publishable note.
Right. Well, first of all, get yourself a thesaurus, because you can. Ask for
one for Christmas. I hear that some great people have done that before.
Well, there's one online. You can just Google thesaurus.com and you're good to go. But I still use that. But if you aren't one to write your words, we are all texting and emailing and Facebook messaging and a phone call.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, they're almost as rare now as getting a card with your name on it in the mail, is making that phone call and connecting with somebody who's just thinking about you. Just want to see how you're doing, or remember their birthday or something, or a day that's hard for them. I know today is the anniversary of something you went through hard, and to just show them that you remember that. That's really powerful.
I'm pretty bad at thinking about it, but not doing it. You ever have that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Or just running out of time.
Yeah, but it's good if you really follow through. It blesses you, and who knows how it may bless the person that you sent it to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for every note of encouragement that comes my way, and that's awesome. I was going to say that I feel like in this generation, especially with Gen Z, they tell me, now Kristi and I, we're not the same age by a long stretch of the imagination. She's much younger than I am, but
not much.
We've done a little reminiscing today about back in the old days with the letters and the voice recordings and all that. So it may be sounding like, we're wanting to go back to the old days. But from what they tell me about Gen Z, they're kind of missing that human interaction that is more personal, because everything's so edited, photoshopped, picture perfect, and they can look up absolutely anything they want to on Google and have it instantly available. And what I was told is, they can always look up how to make an apple pie. But most of them would really much rather spend an afternoon with somebody who knows how to make an apple pie and make it together. Yes. And so I think that we don't need to forget that there are ways that are comfortable to those of us who've lived a few more years that actually also really speak into the lives of the young. Absolutely. And maybe there's more this generation than any before.
Because it's attention and time. It's spending the time together, whether you're chatting or you're making an apple pie or you're having a coffee. It's that time investment.
I've been sending cards to my grandchildren. They live about 8,000 miles away in Japan.
Yes.
And I've been sending them cards. I try to get them a card every week or two that comes in the mailbox.
Yes.
With their name on it in Grammy's handwriting, because I I'm conscious of the fact that at 9 and 6 and 2 and 1 years old, they're not going to be receiving letters.
Right.
But, my daughter's keeping them, so they're going to have a shoebox of letters from Grammy, which I just think is, something.
Best treasure ever for
right?
them.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have mailboxes at your church or how many people's snail mail addresses you really know, but I would encourage you to think about it. Think about who you could write a note to, who you could just say a word of encouragement or affirmation to. One of my friends recently on Facebook posted, if anybody has words of affirmation for me, I could really use it right now. And I thought, well, that's very authentic.
Right. We don't even always realize when we need them, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that is the yearning of my heart. Because I think I'm kind of a words of affirmation person as far as love languages go. But I don't think I've ever posted it on Facebook,
Well, if you post it, I will give you some words of affirmation. Don't worry.
But thank you. But I thought, well, that's okay. Because, I noticed a lot of people sent words of affirmation that were sincere. And, instead of just saying I'm discouraged or just suffering through it by themselves, they went ahead and just put that out there. So be conscious of the people around you and the power that your words have on them, both for negative or for positive. And I think we can all do that. That's something we can all do.
Yes. We all have the words, the 2 million and whatever words inside of us.
Right. That's right. So let's use them for good. Thank you so much, Kristi. Appreciate you coming today. You're always such a joy to be with. And we look forward to seeing you again on As You Go.